Hello. I'm going to talk about a few things that I liked and learned as I went through life. I hope you get a chuckle out of some of it. And if any of it rubs you the wrong way, it was never meant to be. So we'll start off with the racetrack, and then we'll go to town from there. I went to the races today, and I put $20 on a horse's nose, and I found out later I could have bought him for $5. Oh, I didn't mind him getting left at the post. That could happen to any horse. But when he stopped in front of the grandstand and asked me which way did they go, now that's when I gave up. And I thought I had a good horse. He left the post at 20-1, and he came in at 5:15. You have heard of a photo finish? Well, they made a Nile painting out of this cat coming in. He moved so slow that the jockey felt guilty. When they got to the stretch, the jockey started to give the horse the whip. And when the jockey started to give the horse the whip, the horse looked around at the jockey as if to say, "What in the hell are you hitting me for? There ain't nobody behind us." They had a very funny race there. They had a lot of horses with strange names. Well, I guess all racehorses have strange names. The announcer came up and blew the bugle. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. He said, "Good evening, friends, and welcome to Pasture Park. Great weather today, and we're expecting a thrilling race. We have an unusual contest on the board. We have 9 thoroughbred racehorses and 1 jackass. Now, Bill Brown has a speedy mule. Ordinarily, mules do not run with thoroughbred racehorses, but we think that he will make it. And Bill has a great imagination. He's entering him in the race, and he's calling him Bill's Ass. The other horses in the race are number 1, Spring Bed, number 2, Pinky Panty, number 3, Bear Belly, number 4, Pussy Willow, number 5, Little Doctor, number 6, My Dicky, number 7, Lady Nipples, number 8, Cold Towel, number 9, Big Rubber, and of course, Bill's Ass. The jockeys are mounting now and getting ready to ride. Jockey Matt is on Spring Bed, Jockey Waters is on Cold Towel, and Jockey Strap is on My Dicky. Back in the crowded pen, the visitors are looking over the entry. Let's see here now. Spring Bed seems to be ready for the groin. Pinky Panty looks kind of frail. Some thinks that she may go down before the race begins. Now, Bear Belly is there between Pussy Willow and My Dicky. My Dicky is certainly look hard and firm, beautiful piece of horse flesh. My Dicky and Pussy Willow are standing there side by side. Pussy Willow has been superbly groomed, combed, and brushed, and stands there now shining black. Lovely horse, Pussy Willow. Pussy Willow is jumping about there on the track now, just raring to go. The standing and the odds are as follows. Pussy Willow and My Dicky are the favourites, but many are looking for Big Rubber to save the day. Now, Little Doctor is from the same stable as Big Rubber, and they are both instructed to watch My Dicky and see that he don't slip through and win with the rival colours. They're at the post now, and all the horses seems to be a little bit nervous. Let's see. Spring Bed is beginning to bounce up and down there already. Pinky Panty is beginning to wither with the heat and the perspiration of nervous excitement. They're having a little trouble there with My Dicky. He keeps rising up. They can't seem to keep him down in his stall. It looks like Jockey Strap will be unable to control My Dicky, and they're going to have to bring a new jockey out to ride My Dicky. Let me see what his name is in the back of the program. A Crab is going to ride My Dicky. A Crab rides for Miss Amelia Ointment, and Miss Amelia Ointment is one of the blue blood stock, and A Crab is Gene Crab's brother. Are they ready? There they go. They're off. Down the front stretch is Bear Belly in front of Pinky Panty, so far up the track that Pussy Willow is out of sight. Around the corner turn, the horses are running recklessly now. Oh, look out, there's an accident. My Dicky ran smack into Bill's ass, but neither horse seems to be hurt. There's a little shoving there now in second place. There's a flare of temper between the horses, and Little Doctor reaches over and bites Lady Nipples. Around the turn and into the backstretch, the action is so fast that Jockey Matt is having a tough time staying on Spring Bed. All the horses strung out now, single file, folks, and Bill's ass is out behind. The pace is slacking for the moment, folks, but gee, my Dickie is running beautifully. And little doctor is putting on the pressure to check his speed, just as I said he would do, but my Dickie does not intend to be cut off. Bill's ass is giving up the race there on the back of the scoreboard. I can see from here, folks, they are scratching Bill's ass. The horses are running in their pack now, and out of the pack comes Big Rubber, and he's rolling right up there on top of the nose of my Dickie, who's thrusting ahead. He's trying to get in there before the last minute sprint comes, but Pussy Willow refuses to give an inch. They are near the finish now, and the jockeys are applying the whip, and Eight Crab gives my Dickie a steam blow, and he jumps ahead, but Pussy Willow makes the challenge, and he's up for him all the way. They're at the finish now, they're over, and my Dickie wins by a hair. Well, I don't care if it rains or freezes, because I got my plastic Jesus riding on the dashboard of my car. Through all trials and tribulations, we will travel every nation. With my plastic Jesus, I'll go far. You can buy a sweet Madonna sitting on a pedestal. Doing 90, I'm not worried, 'cause I got the Virgin Mary, guaranteeing I won't go to hell. Oh, I don't care if it bumps or jostles, as long as I got the 12 apostles bolted on the dashboard of my car. Oh, I don't care if it's dark and scary, as long as I got Magnetic Mary. I feel I'm protected well. Oh, I don't care if it rains or freezes, because I got the whole damn Holy Family riding on the dashboard of my car. Well, I think there's a message in here somewhere. Let's see if we can find it. It's about children. I was sitting in Miami, pouring blended whiskey down, when this old gray-black gentleman was cleaning up the lounge. There wasn't anybody there except this old man and me. The guy who run the bar was watching Ironside on TV. Uninvited, he sat down and opened up his mind about old dogs and children and watermelon wine. Ever have a drink of watermelon wine, he asked. He told me all about it, though I didn't answer back. He said there ain't but 3 things in this world that's worth a solitary dime, and it's old dogs and children and watermelon wine. He said women like to talk about themselves when men folk ain't around, and friends are hard to find when they find out you are down. He said I did it all when I was young and in my natural prime. Now it's all dogs and children and watermelon wine. He said all dogs care about you, even when you make mistakes. And God bless little children while they're still too young to hate. As he moved away, I found my pen and copied down that line about old dogs and children and watermelon wine. I had to catch a plane up to Atlanta that next day. As I left for my room, I saw him picking up my change. That night I slept a dreamful sleep of shady summertime and old dogs and children and watermelon wine. I think most people have said to themselves at one time or another, I shouldn't have done that. If I'd done that different, I'd have been better off. Or I shouldn't have done that at all. Now, I have always regretted not learning how to cook. If I had to learn how to cook, I'd have saved myself a lot of headaches and a lot of money. I guess it was back in '63 when eating cookies got the better of me. And I asked this little girl I was born with, could she cook? And she says, I can cook. Well, I said, would you marry me? Well, she said she would. So I said I do. But I'd have said I wouldn't if I had to know that by saying I do was going to screw up all of my life. Well, the first few years wasn't all that bad. I'll never forget the good times we had because I'm reminded every month when I sent her the child support. And then it wasn't too long till the lust all died. And I have to admit, I wasn't too surprised. When I came home one evening and found my suitcase sitting out on the porch, I tried to get in. She changed the locks. And then I found a note on the mailbox that said, goodbye, Tucky. Tucky, my attorney will be in touch. Well, I decided right then and there I was going to do the right thing, give her her fair share. But I didn't know that her share was going to be that much. They give her the gold mine, and they give me the shaft. They split it right down the middle, but they give her the better half. They give her the gold mine, and they give me the shaft. Well, folks, you have heard nothing yet. They give her the color television set. They give her the house, the kids, and both of the cars. Then they started talking about alimony, child support, costs to the courts. It didn't take me long to figure out how far in the toilet I was. I'm telling you, they made a mistake because it adds up to more than this cowboy makes. Besides, while she's living like a queen on alimony, I'm working 2 jobs, eating bologna, asking myself why. Why didn't you just learn how to cook? They give her the gold mine and they give me the shaft. They split it right down the middle, but they give her the better half. They give her the gold mine and they give me the shaft. I have often wondered who the people are and how they come up with statistics. Who are those people that claim that 92% of the people in the world live and die with whatever religion is in their home when they were born? Tunnel vision to the grave. Then you have the other 8%. Some of them question everything. Some of them look for answers. And some of them do research. Now, out of all of this, there's two I like. I like the true story of the missioner that went to Alaska in the late 1700s and converted a village of Eskimos to Christianity. And he liked the place and the people and decided to stay there for a while. He must have loved the cold also. And almost a year went by, and the chief of the village said to him one day, "Question, please. If I didn't know anything about God or the devil, heaven or hell, would I go to hell?" And the missioner said, "If you didn't know anything about God or the devil, heaven or hell, no, you would not go to hell." "Well," says the chief, "why do you tell me?" Then you have the other guy that did a lot of research. He called it the big con. Now, this takes a few minutes. Not alone does it take a few minutes, I need a few seconds to get his head into my head, the way he thought. The big con. The big major league con. Religion. Religion easily has to be the greatest con story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living up in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. You can't get into bed with your wife or husband, boyfriend, girlfriend without this peeping Tom looking down every minute of every day. And this invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any one of those 10 things, he's got a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish, where he'll send you to live, to suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you. He loves you. And he needs money. He always needs money. He's all powerful. He's all perfect. He's all knowledgeable. And he's all wise. Somehow just can't handle money. Religion takes in billions and billions of dollars, pays no taxes, and always needs a little more money. Now you talk about a major con story. Holy shit. But I want you to know something. When it comes to believing in God, I really tried. I really tried. I try to believe that there is a God who created each one of us in his own image and likeness and loves us very much. You know, when you love somebody, you really do go out of your way to make sure nothing really bad happens and keeps a close eye on things. But I got to tell you, the longer you live, the more you look around, the more you realize something is screwed up. Something is wrong here, baby. War, disease, death, destruction, hunger, filth, poverty, torture, crime, corruption, and the ice capades. Something is definitely wrong. This is not good work. If this is the best God can do, I'm not impressed. Results like these do not belong on the resume of a supreme being. This is the kind of crap you'd expect from a part-time office worker with a bad attitude. And just between you and me, in any decently run universe, this guy would be out on his all-powerful ass a long time ago. And by the way, I say this guy because I firmly believe if there is a God, it has to be a man. No woman could or would screw things up like this. So if there is a God, I think most reasonable people might agree that he's at least incompetent and maybe, just maybe, doesn't give a damn. Doesn't give a damn, which I admire in a person and which might explain a lot of those bad results. So rather than be a mindless religious robot, mindless and aimless, and blindly believing that all of this is in the hands of some spooky, incompetent father figure who doesn't give a damn, I decided to look around for something else to worship. And immediately I thought of the sun. Happened like that. Overnight I became a sun worshiper. Well, not overnight. You can't see the sun at night. But first thing the next morning, I became a sun worshiper. Several reasons. First of all, I can see the sun. I'm big on that one, baby. If I can see something, I don't know, it kind of helps the credibility along, you know. So every day I see the sun, as it gives me everything I need. Heat, light, food, flowers in the park, reflections on the lake, and an occasional skin cancer. But hey, at least there are no crucifixions, and we're not setting people on fire simply because they don't agree with us. Sun worship is fairly simple. There are no mysteries, no miracles, no pageants. Nobody asks for money. There are no songs to learn. And we don't have a special building where we all gather once a week to compare clothes. And you know the best thing about the sun? Never tells me I'm unworthy. Doesn't say I'm a bad person who needs to be saved. Hasn't said an unkind word. Treats me fine. So I worship the sun. But I don't pray to the sun. You know why? I wouldn't presume on our friendship. I have often thought people treat God rather rudely. Don't you? Asking trillions and trillions of prayers every day, asking and pleading and begging for favors. Do this, give me that, I need a new car, I want a better job. And most of this praying takes place on Sunday. His day off. It's not nice. It's no way to treat a friend. Oh, that makes me think. The guy has worked 6 days and 6 nights. Of course he needed a day off. Maybe he took a month off. Now we know where all the crap is happening. But people do pray. And they pray for a lot of different things. Your sister needs an operation on her crotch. Your brother was arrested for peeing in public. And I say, fine, pray for anything you want. Pray for anything. But what about the divine plan? Remember that one, the divine plan? Long time ago, God made the divine plan. Give it a lot of thought. Decided it was a good plan. Put it into practice. And the divine plan has been doing just fine. Now you come along and pray for something. Well, supposing what you want is not in God's divine plan, what do you want him to do? Change his plan? Just for you? Doesn't that seem a little arrogant? After all, it is God's divine plan. What's the use in being God if every run-down schmuck with a $2 prayer book can come along and screw up your plan? And here's something else. Another problem you might have. Suppose your prayers aren't answered. What do you say? Well, it's God's will. Thy will be done. But if it's God's will, and he's going to do what he wants to anyway, what's the use in praying in the first place? Could you not have skipped the praying part and go right to his will? It's all so confusing. So to get around a lot of this, I decided to worship the sun. But like I said, I don't pray to the sun. You know who I pray to? Joe Pesci. 2 reasons. First of all, I think he's a good actor. Secondly, anybody that knows Joe Pesci knows that Joe Pesci knows how to get things done. Joe Pesci don't screw around, you know.
He's worried about it. He didn't want to come over and get the check, you know. It's just,
wait.
You could take care of this shit.
Yeah, it's no problem. Tell him to put it on my tab. Of course.
That's what I want to talk to you about. You know, it ain't just this here. It's 7 fucking big ones here. 7 fucking G's you owe me here. You know, $7,000, I mean, ain't peanuts. I don't mean to be out of order or nothing.
You don't mean to be out of order? Jeez, it's good you don't mean to be out of order, Sonny. You call embarrassing me in front of my friends, don't know, like calling me a fucking deadbeat, you know? You know, Sonny, you're a real fucking mutt. You know the money we spend in this fucking...
Come on, don't be like that.
What do you mean don't be like that? Look at this prick. You think this is funny, huh? He's having... What the fuck are you looking at? You're fucking... You're fucking moron. You don't want to bring the check, huh? You fucking... You believe this prick?
In fact, Joe Pesci came through on a couple of things that God was having trouble with. For years, I asked God to take care of the noisy neighbor with the barking dog. Joe Pesci took care of that guy with 1 visit. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a simple baseball bat. So I have been praying to Joe Pesci for about a year now, and I noticed something. I noticed that all the prayers I used to offer to God and all the prayers I now offer to Joe Pesci are being answered at about the same 50% rate. Same as God, 50-50. The same as the 4-leaf clover, and the horseshoe, and the wishing well, and the rabbit's foot. The same as the mojo man. The same as the voodoo lady who tells you your fortune by squeezing the goat's testicles. It's all the same. So pick your superstition, sit back, make a wish, and be happy. And for those of you who look to the Bible for moral lessons and literal qualities, I might suggest a couple other stories. You might like to look at the Three Little Pigs. Has a nice happy ending. Then you have Little Red Riding Hood, although it has that X-rated part where the big bad wolf ate the grandmother, which I didn't care for. And finally, I've always got a great lot of moral comfort from Humpty Dumpty, the part I like the best. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. And that's because there is no Humpty Dumpty, and there is no God. No God never was. In fact, I put it this way. If there is a God, may he strike this audience dead. You see, nothing happened. I'll raise the stakes a little. If there is a God, may he strike me dead. You see, nothing happened. Oh, I got a cramp in my leg, and my balls hurt, and I think I'm going blind. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on. I think I'm okay again. It must have been Joe Pesci. When I was a kid in Ireland, the only entertainment we had on long winter nights was card playing. And the games went late into the night. People did not have much money, so they would raffle a pig's head, a goose, or a pair of shoes that came from America that didn't fit. And the guy that won them, he would raffle them again if they didn't fit him. And then the parson and the priest got in on the act. And on occasions, they would give a sermon on the deck of cards. And they said that the deck of cards was made by the devil. And that's why the deck of cards had the joker and the jack. They were the devil. They even went as far as to say that a guy coming home from playing cards at 3 o'clock in the morning on a country road in Ireland, he would meet the devil. And the devil would not let him pass until he played for his soul. The old people believed that. Us as kids, yeah, we believed it. Very interesting thing here. Some people were quite poor, and they only had one chair in the house. For the man of the house to sit at the head of the table, they would have a plank along the wall for neighbors and the kids. But when you met the devil at 3 o'clock in the morning on a country road in Ireland, he had 2 chairs and a table and the deck of cards. And you are not passing until you play for your soul. Now, it used to have a happy ending most of the time, if not all the time. The guy would beat the devil. The same as Charlie Daniels beat the devil down in Georgia playing a fiddle. So now we know of 2 games the devil ain't too good at. He's a lousy card player, and he's not that good at fiddle playing. But then again, Charlie Daniels, who can compete with him on the fiddle? Then I came to America, and I met a guy that tells me that the deck of cards was made by God. And I said, listen, I'm pretty sure the devil has the franchise on the deck of cards. And he said, no, God made the deck of cards, and I'll explain it to you now. And he had a good explanation. And this is his story. By the way, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Whatever is in your home when you were born, tunnel vision to the grave. And this is his version. During the North African campaign, a group of soldier boys was on a long hike. They came to a town called Cassina. The next day being Sunday, some of the boys went to church. A sergeant commanded the boys in church, and after the chaplain read the prayers, the text was taken up next. Now those of the boys who had prayer books took them out. But this one boy only had a deck of cards, so he spread him out. The sergeant saw the cards, and he said, "Soldier, put away those cards." After the service was over, the soldier was taken prisoner, brought before the provost marshals. The marshal said, "Sergeant, why have you brought this man here?" "For playing cards in church, sir." "And what have you got to say for yourself, son?" "Much," replied the soldier. The marshal said, "I hope so, because if not, I will punish you more than any man was ever punished, playing cards in church." The soldier said, "Sir, I had been on a long march for 6 days. I had neither Bible nor prayer book, but I hope to satisfy you, sir, with the purity of my intention." And with that, the boy began his story. "You see, sir, when I look at the ace in my deck of cards, I know there is but one God, one Big Daddy. The deuce tells me that the Bible is divided into 2 parts, the Old and the New Testimony. When I see the 3, I think of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. When I see the 4, I think of the 4 evangelists who preached the gospel. There was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When I see the 5, I think of the 5 wise virgins who cleansed the lamp. There were 10 of them. 5 were wise and were saved. 5 were foolish and were shut out. When I see the 6, I know that in 6 days God created this great heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested from his work." Oh, there we go again. 7th day he went to sleep. We have it figured now. When I see the 8, I think of the 8 righteous persons God saved when he destroyed this earth. There were Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives. That 8, baby. When I see the 9, I think of the lepers our Savior cleansed, and 9 out of the 10 didn't even thank him. When I see the 10, I think of the 10 commandments that God handed down to Moses on a platter of stone. When I see the king, I know there is but one king of heaven, God Almighty. When I see the queen, I think of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Queen of Heaven, and the Jack, our name. Well, he the devil. He the goddamn devil. Sir, when I count the spots on my deck of cards, I find 365. The number of days in a year. There are 52 cards, the number of weeks in a year. There are 12 picture cards, the number of months in a year. There are 4 suits, the number of weeks in a month, and 13 tricks, the number of weeks in a quarter. So you see, sir, not only does my deck of cards serve me as a Bible, almanac, but also a prayer book. And folks, I want you to know this story is true because I knew that soldier. Oh, the devil just lost his job on a country road in Ireland. Well, we can't leave Chris Christopherson out, one of the greatest American songwriters of all times. Chris put these words together about Jesus and snobbish people, people that like to look down on you. And this is what Chris said about it all. Jesus was a Capricorn and he ate organic food. He believed in love and peace and he never wore no shoes. Long hair, beard and sandals and a flunky bunch of friends. I reckon they'd have to nail him up if he came down again. Because everybody's got to have somebody to look down on, whom they can feel better than at any time they please. Someone's done something dirty decent folk can frown on, and if you can't find nobody else, then help yourself to me. Eggheads cursing, rednecks cursing, hate hippies for their hair. Some folk hate the whites, who hate the Klan, who hate the Klan. And most of us hate anything that we don't understand, because everybody's got to have somebody to look down on, whom they can feel better than at any time they please. Someone's done something dirty decent folk can frown on, and if you can't find nobody else, then help yourself to me. I always liked a few drinking songs. Maybe it's the Irish in me. We have the name. And the fact that we have the name, why not have a little fun with it? And the fact that we have the name, this could very easily have been written by an Irish woman or an Irish man. But I would safely say these words were put together by some country western singer in the mountains of West Virginia or Tennessee. And when he put these words together, it was back in the 70s, where they had no cell phone and they got paid by check. You'll understand. I came crawling home last night, like many nights before. I finally made it to my feet as she opened up the door, and she says, "You're not going to do this anymore." She said, "I'm going to hire a wino to decorate our home, so you'll feel more at ease here and you won't need to roam." She said, "We'll take out the dining room table and put a bar along that wall and a neon sign to point the way to a bathroom down the hall." She said, "You just bring those Friday paychecks. I'll cash 'em all right here, and I'll keep on tap for all your friends their favorite kind of beer. And for you, I'll always keep in stock those soft aluminum cans. And when you're feeling macho, well, you can crush 'em like a man." She said, "We'll rip up all the carpet. We'll put sawdust on the floor. We'll serve hard-boiled eggs and pretzels, and I won't cook no more. We'll watch Monday Night Football on TV above the bar and a payphone in the hallway when your friends can't find the car." She said, "You'll get friendly service, and for that, an atmosphere. I'll slip on something sexy and I'll cut it clear to here. Then you can slap my bottom every time you tell a joke, so long as you keep tipping while I laugh until you're broke. Instead of family quarrels, what the heck? We'll have a barroom brawl, and when the hamster says it's closing time, well, you won't have far to crawl. Then when you run out of money, well, you'll have me to thank. You can sleep it off next morning while I'm putting it in the bank. Yes, I'm going to hire a wino to decorate our home, so you'll feel more at ease here and you won't need to roam. She said we'll take out the dining room table and put a bar along that wall and a neon sign to point the way to a bathroom down the hall. Then when you and your friends get off from work and you got a powerful thirst, well, there won't be any reason why you can't stop off here first. The kids came out to play last Sunday morning. I came in and slammed the door and put my cigarette out on the floor and told her a dirty joke, and the fight was on. She says, you better quit bringing your barroom habits home to Mama. You better quit calling me Rosie when you know that's not my name. When you come home, it's like a bad dream. I follow you around trying to keep the place clean. You better quit bringing your barroom habits home to Mama. Last night I got high and I got lonesome, and I remembered just what I needed was waiting at home. I walked in and popped a beer, and it went all over the wall, and I could tell by the look in her eye that I did something wrong. She says, you better quit bringing your barroom habits home to Mama. You better quit calling me Rosie when you know that's not my name. When you come home, it's like a bad dream. I follow you around trying to keep the place clean. You better quit bringing your barroom habits home to Mama. This is about a guy. He thinks he was everywhere. And he was, quite a few places. And he was thumbing his way on a dusty road in Michigan when a tractor-trailer guy picked him up. And this is the way it goes. I was toting my pack along the dusty Minnie-Mackle Road when along comes a semi with a high and canvas-covered load. If you're going to Minnie-Mackle, Mac, with me you can ride. So I climbed inside the cabin, then I settled down inside. He asked me if I'd ever seen a road with so much dust and sand, and I said I traveled every road in this here land. I've been everywhere, across the desert bare, man. I have breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Manuela, Palama, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Capella, Baronquello, and Padello. I've been everywhere. Across the desert, bare man, I have breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I have been to Boston, Charleston, Dayton, Louisiana, Washington, Houston, Kingston, Texarkana, Monterey, Ferndale, Santa Fe, Tallahassee, Glen Rock, Black Rock, Little Rock, Oskaloosa, Tennessee, Hennessy, Chicopee, Spirit Lake, Grand Lake, Devil Lake, Crater Lake. For Pete's sake, I've been everywhere. Across the desert, bare man, I have breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Lumbaco, Shepherdsville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shepherdsport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fort de Lay, and Neversport, Idaho, Jericho, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Catalina, see what I mean? I've been everywhere. Across the desert, bare man, I have breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I have been to Pittsburgh, Parkersburg, Grabblesburg, Colorado, Ellensburg, Rexburg, Vicksburg, El Dorado, Larimore, Atmore, Habestraw, Chattanooga, Cheska, Nebraska, Alaska, Apalooka, Baraboo, Waterloo, Kalamazoo, Kansas City, Sioux City, Cedar City, Dodge City. What a pity! I've been everywhere. Across the desert, bare man, I have breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Well, quite a few places, baby. Now that I'm getting my breath, I'll give you a quickie. There's a message in here, too, about mommy and daddy and the kids. And the guy that wrote this, he called it skip a rope. That's what kids do, skip a rope. Skip a rope, skip a rope. Oh, listen to the children while they play. Now ain't it kind of funny what the children say? Skip a rope, skip a rope. Mommy hates daddy, daddy hates mom. Last night you should have heard the fight they had. It gave little sister another bad dream. She woke us all up with a terrible scream. Skip a rope, skip a rope. Cheat on your taxes, don't be a fool. Now what was that you said about the golden rule? Never mind the rule, just play to win, and hate your neighbor for the shade of his skin. Stab him in the back, that's the name of the game, and daddy and mommy are who's to blame. Now listen to your children while they play. It's really not very funny what the children say. Skip a rope, skip a rope. This is about a guy. He loved junk food. But anytime he was with his friends, he ate organic. And eventually he got tired of the lie, and he came clean. And I like the way he put the words together. He said, you know I love them orange cookies, I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural down at the health food store. I only eat good seafood, white sugar don't touch my lips. And my friends are always begging me to take them on a micro-organic trip. Oh, but at night, I stake out my strongbox that I keep under lock and key. I take it back to my closet where nobody else can see. I open the door so slowly, I peek up north and south, and then I pull out a Hostess Twinkie and I put it in my mouth. And then it's a Dr. Pepper and a 500-calorie old moon pie, and I sit back in glorious expectation of a genuine junk food high. Oh, but in the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be, but at night I'm a junk food junkie. Good Lord, have pity on me. Oh, but lately I have been spotted with a Big Mac on my breath, stumbling into Colonel Sanders with a face as white as death. I'm afraid someday they'll find me stretched out upon my bed with a handful of Lay's potato chips and a Dunkin' Donut on my head. Yes, in the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be, but at night I'm a junk food junkie. Good Lord, have pity on me. Belfast, Ireland. There are two groups of people in Belfast, Ireland. One is Protestant, one is Catholic, and they love to hate each other. I went back there in the 1970s, and I was surprised to see 10-foot walls separating neighbors to stop them from killing each other. And it didn't work. They started shooting each other from the second floor windows with rifles. Now the homes facing each other have no windows. Hate at its best. And this is about a Protestant man. His name was Linfield. And he was born and raised in an area called Sandy Row, all Protestant. And he was a big believer in the English flag, the Union Jack. And every 12th of July, he marched to a place called Finicky and back. The 12th of July is a big, big Protestant Day parade for some guy called King Billy that won a battle way back in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th century, way back. And one night, in a place called Bangor, he met a girl from the Falls Road. Falls Road, all Catholic. You see, if you gotta hate, you must separate. And they fell in love. Not a good thing to do in the north of Ireland. But you know what they say about love? They say love is blind. You take me, for instance. I think I'm in love with a 37-year-old. I mean, how ridiculous can that be? But not to worry. I got a good handle on that. And when he was an old man, he told his story. And this is his story. I was born and raised in Sandy Row, a loyal orange lad. I stood for good King Billy, that noble man of God. My motto, no surrender. My flag, the Union Jack. And every 12th I proudly marched to Finicky and back. As well as that, a Linfield man, as long as I can mind, and I had no time for Catholics or any of their kind. But then one night in Bangor, I met wee Rosie Green. The minute I laid eyes on her, I knew she was my queen. But when I saw she fancied me, my mind went all abuzz, and I clear forgot to ask her what her religion was. The next time that we met, I told her I'm a proddy, staunch and through, and she says I am a Catholic, and I'm just as staunch as you. Oh, the words were harsh and bitter, and then suddenly like this, the centuries of hatred was forgotten in a kiss. Well, I knew our love would bring us only trouble and distress, but nothing in this world made me love wee Rosie less. I saved a bit of money as quickly as I could, and I asked her if she'd marry me, and God, she said she would. Then the trouble really started. Her folks went raving mad, and when mine heard about it, oh Lord, they were twice as bad. My father said from that day forth he'd hang his head in shame. And by a strange coincidence, her father said the same. My mother cried her eyes out, and she said I'd rue the day that I'd let a papist hussy steal my royal heart away. And Rosie's mother said when she recovered from the blow, it was like getting hit with a 12-pound sledge. She said she'd sooner see the devil than a man from Sandy Row. Well, we got married in a papist church on the other side of town. That's the way Rosie wanted it, and I couldn't let her down. She started to boss me from the start. But the priest, he was very nice to me. He made me feel at home. I think he pitied both of us. Our families didn't show. Then we had to move out of town further. The room we went to live in had nothing but the walls. It was far away from Sandy Row, and it was further from the falls. But that's the way it had to be, for both of us knew well, back amongst the crowd we knew, our lives would be just hell. But life out there for Rosie was lonely, well I knew, and of course we had our quota of religious problems too. At dinner time on Friday when Rosie gave me fish, I looked at it and then at her and I said, hey, baby, that ain't my dish. Steak. Well, I mind well what she said to me. She went into a big sermon about it. She said, you got to pay the price to make for Christ who died for us on Friday long ago. Oh, anyway, I ate the fish. And it wasn't bad, you know. She was into the fish act. On Sunday, she got up for Mass, and I lay on in bed. But Rosie would have none of it. You're going to church, she said. Started to boss me again. Well, we left the house together, but we parted down the line, and she went off to her church, and I went off to mine. Well, the weeks and months went quickly by, and then there came the day when Rosie up and told me that a child was on the way. Well, we both went on our knees that night, and we asked the Lord above to give our child two gifts alone, tolerance and love. Need a lot of tolerance if you're going to eat a lot of fish. Well, the rows before the wedding were infinitely mild compared to all the rumpus that was made about the child. Rosie's people came to say he'd have to be RC, Royal Catholic, and my people said he'd have to be a Protestant like me. No, the child must be a Catholic. No, the child must be a prod. But the last and loudest voice I heard was the mighty word of God. An hour after it was born, the poor wee child was dead. That night I knelt by Rosie's side, and just before the dawn I kissed her as she left me to join her son with God. My lonely heart was broken within those lonely walls. Where the hell is the Shankle now? Where the hell is the Falls? But folks, that's a long time ago. Long years of grief and pain, when I'd have give anything I had to see her face again. But my loneliness is over now. I'll see her soon, I know. The doctor told me yesterday that I haven't long to go. I'm going to see Rosie. But when I go up yonder, they'll let me through, I hope. But if they ask me who I'm for, King Billy or the Pope, I'm going to take no chances. I'll tell them straight and fair, I'm a loyal Ulster Protestant who loved a Papist, sir, and one way or another I know they'll let me through, and Rosie will be waiting, and our little angel too. And then the child will lead us, the Papist and the Prod, up the steps together into the arms of God. It's a tearjerker, isn't it? And seeing we're talking about tearjerkers, this is a shorter one. This is about a poor guy. He married his childhood sweetheart, Ruby. Ruby was obsessed with dancing. Ruby had to go dancing every night, and he went with her. And right after the wedding, he gets drafted in the army. Back then they had the draft. And he gets shipped right into the war. He called it the Asian War. It was a way back, the Korean War. And he came back blind and paralyzed. And he got full disability. But if Ruby wanted her share of the disability, she had to live with him, and that she did. Ruby moved in her younger boyfriend. They have a name for them guys, the boy toy, and they would go dancing every night, and he could hear them. And this is what he said to her. You painted up your lips and rolled and colored your tinted hair. Ruby, are you contemplating going out somewhere? The shadow on the wall tells me the sun is going down. Oh, Ruby, don't take your love to town. It wasn't me that started that old crazy Asian war, but I was proud to go and do my patriotic chore. And now it's through, I'm not the man I used to be. Oh, Ruby, I still need some company. It's hard for you to love a man who's blind and paralyzed. That my wants and needs of a woman your age, oh Ruby, I realize. It won't be long, I've heard them say, until I'm not around. Oh Ruby, don't take your love to town. She's leaving now, 'cause I just heard the slamming of the door. The way I know I've heard it slam 100 times before. If I could move, I'd get my gun and put her in the ground. Oh, Ruby, don't take your love to town. It won't be long until I'm not around. Oh, Ruby, for God's sakes, turn around. Ruby ain't turning around. She got a man with 2 good feet. Let's go dancing. Well, seeing we're talking about war, this is about the Second World War. This is about an American Indian called Ira Hayes. And he was born and raised on the sandy reservations of Arizona. And if you were born on the reservation, you don't have to go to war. But he left the reservation, joined the Marines, and fought in Iwo Jima. And there's a famous picture of 5 soldiers holding the American flag up on the mountain of Iwo Jima. And he was one of them. And he came back a hero. Now, the poor guy finished up dying a drunk in a ditch. Johnny Cash, who was also a famous country western singer, is a big supporter of the American Indians. And he goes to their dance every year. In the Indian language, it's called bow wow. Translated into English, it's called dance. It goes on for 2 days. And the chief asked Johnny to put some words together for Ira. And this is where I find guys like Chris Christopherson and Johnny Cash geniuses. Johnny went into the teepee, and within an hour and a half or so, he put these words together, and he said them for the chief the next day. It was a little easier on him because he knew the history of that particular tribe. They were farmers when the white man arrived. And this is what he said. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian, nor the Marine that went to war. Gather around me, people, there's a story I will tell about a brave young Indian you should remember well. From the land of the Pochini Indians, a proud and noble band, who farmed the Phoenix Valley in the Arizona land. They downed the ditches for 1,000 years. The water grew and Ira's people cropped, till the white man stole their water rights and the sparkling water stopped. Now Ira's folks were hungry and their land grew crops of weed. When war came, Ira volunteered and forgot the white man's greed. Now there's the battle up Iwo Jima Hill, 250 men, but only 27 lived to walk back down again. And when the fight was over and Old Glory raised, among the men that held it high was the Indian Ira Hayes. Ira returned a hero, celebrated through the land. He was wined and preached and honored. Everybody shook his hand. But he was only a Pono Indian. No water, no crops, no change. Back home nobody cared what Ira did or when do the Indians dance. Now Ira started drinking hard. Jail was off in Ira's home. They'd let him raise the flag and lower it like you would throw a dog a bone. He died one morning early in a land he fought to save. 2 inches of muck in a lonely ditch was the grave for Ira Hayes. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, but his land is just as dry, and his ghost is lying thirsty in the ditch where Ira died. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer any more. Not the whiskey drinking Indian, nor the Marine that went to war. When I bartended on the west side of Manhattan, there was a police lieutenant, John Flaherty, used to come in there every night and drink 7-Up. He was a good friend of the boss's, and he lived around the corner, and he had just retired. And the captain and lieutenants from the 2-4 precinct and some lieutenants from the 2-0 precinct used to come in and discuss cases that had gone on with him. And from what I understand, there's a big law book this size on every desk in every precinct. And supposedly Flaherty knew it off by heart. He had a photographic mind. And I must say I found it very impressive. They would be discussing cases, and he would get off the stool, and he would stand up, and he would do this, and he would say, "Gentlemen, the case you are referring to is on page 1203, section B," and he would recite it as if he was reading it out of the book. Very impressive. He also knew two law professors from Columbia University, about 2 miles up the road. He had met them when he was a lieutenant on patrol, and they would come in a couple of times a year, always on New Year, and they would have a few drinks, and he'd have his 7-Up, and they would discuss law all night. John Flaherty would talk to anybody about anything, and one night he's talking to a guy that kept using the word bullshit. And Flaherty said to him, "That word you're using a lot of, would you like to know the definition of bullshit?" The guy said, "What?" He said, "The word you're using a lot of, would you like to know the definition of it?" The guy said, "Yeah, you tell me the definition." "Well," says Flaherty, "I have to explain. Back in the 1930s in New York City, and probably every other city in America, nobody cursed. The worst word you would hear was bullshit. And down in Hell's Kitchen on 9th Avenue in the 40s, a guy who lived up on the 6th floor, he had a 7-year-old son. And in the summertime, the 7-year-old son was playing with the 12 and 13-year-olds down on the corner, and every second word out of their mouth was bullshit this and bullshit that. And the kid, when he was thirsty, he would run up the 6 flights, go to the ice box, get some ice out, chop it up, go to the faucet, run water on it. That's how you cooled down back then. The father is sitting on the couch, drinking Rupert beer. I understand it was a Manhattan beer. Listening to the Brooklyn Dodgers on the radio. No TV back then. And this is where it kind of goes into a rhyme. The kid asked the father what was bullshit. "Father, tell me what is bullshit?" asked this eager earnest lad. "Son," replied the loving father, "bullshit means both good and bad. And as a means of illustration, bullshit is the dung that's found in the limits of the stockyards where the cows and steers are bound. And as a means of fertilizer, lawns and gardens, you will find that this product of the stockyards has the elements beaten blind. But in barroom parlors, bullshit stands for something more. It's a sad to hear a sucker that imagines he is sore. For when a lady lacks in morals and tells you you are just it, take a hint, my boy, and listen. She is handing you pure bullshit. When I was a kid in Ireland, we used to hear a lot of talk about America. Well, it had the dollar. That was the big thing. But it also, we'd hear a lot of stuff about it had individual freedom, it had freedom of choice, and it had freedom for all. Then I came to America, and I had the good fortune to become an over-the-road tractor-trailer driver. And then I had the good fortune to get a black partner, Jimmy Reese from the South. And the reason I say good fortune is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. He didn't tell me much in the beginning. And this was the 60s with the marching going on. And one Thursday, we're in New Orleans, and we have a load going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We should have had no problem getting there Friday, but we ran into traffic. And Jimmy kept saying to me, we got to get in the gates before 4 o'clock. Otherwise, we're stuck until Monday morning. Well, we didn't make it. And we had to drive back to Fayetteville to a truck stop called the 401 truck stop. And when I went inside the truck stop area, there was 3 signs looking at me. The first sign was restaurant, white only. The second sign was TV room, white only. And the third sign was beds, white only. So Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, I ate in the restaurant, watched TV, and slept in a bed. Jimmy Reese, he ate in the kitchen. He slept in the truck with no air conditioning and listened to the radio. And Jimmy Reese was 5 generations American, and I was the foreigner. And I'm asking myself, did we get a little propaganda back in Ireland? What happened to the freedom for all? Jimmy used to tell me stories his grandfather told him. Back when slavery was in full swing, the white plantation owners used to breed black people. They would get the strongest and finest 13-year-old boys and up, and they would get the strongest and finest 12, 13 and up girls, and put them into a cabin as man and wife. And by the time they were 35, they would have 15, 18 kids to work the plantation. Then when slavery was abolished, the white plantation owners wouldn't feed them or pay them. And typical of some men, this could be black or white, they take off, leave the women with all the kids. And mothers' love for their kids stuck it out and got food to feed their kids any way they could. And some of them turned to selling their body. And they would have code words to get into their cabin at night, which makes me say we shouldn't be too quick to judge. We will never know what any one of us would do if the chips went down, what we will do to survive. And this is about one woman. She had 14 kids. And her code word was Hillary Holler's Tramp. And when her kids became older, they put these words together: for love, for their mama. Oh, the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned a scarlet lamp, and late at night a hand would knock, and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. The corn was dry and the weeds were high when Daddy took to drinking. Him and Lucy Walker, they up and ran away. Mama cried a silent tear, and then she promised 14 children. I swear you'll never see a hungry day. When Mama sacrificed her pride, the neighbors started talking. But we were much too young to understand the things they said. What mattered most of all to us was Mama's chicken dumplings and a goodnight kiss before we went to bed. Oh, the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned a scarlet lamp, and late at night a hand would knock, and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. When Daddy left and destitution came upon our family, not one neighbor volunteered to lend a helping hand. She let 'em gossip all they want. She loved us and she raised us. The proof is standing here, a full-grown man. Last summer Mama passed away and left the ones who loved her. Each and every one is grateful for their birth, and each and every Sunday she receives a big bouquet of 14 roses with a card that reads, "The greatest mom on earth." Oh, the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned a scarlet lamp, and late at night a hand would knock, and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. Some weeks later, after we left Fayetteville, we were in a truck stop called the Cross the Border Truck Stop in Jacksonville, Florida. We were there on a Sunday afternoon. And we were strolling in the big parking lot, and we see a group of black people with a guy entertaining them down the end. And we strolled down, and he said one I liked. He called it the cat in the glass. And an hour or so later I meet him, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind saying it again, that I'd like to write it down. And what was beginning to really surprise me was the way black people were reacting to white people. Only a few days we were in Selma, Alabama, and I seen a young white woman making a black woman get off the sidewalk to let her walk by. And then you'd hear white guys, if they didn't know the black guy, they would say, "What are you doing here, nigger? Are you supposed to be here, nigger?" And I said to Jimmy, I said, "You know, if I was born black, I think I'd hate every white son of a bitch that ever was born." And Jimmy said, "Hold it." He said, "You can't do that, baby." He said, "If you do that," he says, "you'll never live." And that's why we have the trailer there with the door on the side where we have our suits. When we're stuck on weekends, we have to go out and have a good time. He says, "You can't keep the hate in, or then," he says, "you'll build it up and you'll have no humor. And you gotta have humor when you meet the girls, you know. And when you meet the girls, if you have humor, you get pussy and you live good. And you gotta live." And the guy said to me, "Sure, baby. Get your pen and paper and get some writer's cramps." And this is it, the cat in the glass. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world calls you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that cat has to say. That's you, baby. For it isn't your father, your mother, husband or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The person whose verdict counts most in your life is the cat looking out from the glass. Some people may think you're a straight-shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the cat in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. He's the one you must please. Never mind all the rest, for he's with you right up to the end, and you have passed your most dangerous, difficult test if the cat in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down that pathway through life and get claps on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartaches and tears if you have cheated the cat in the glass. Bon voyage, folks.